Welcome back. It has been a hell of a week. I am recording this on Wednesday, November 13th. I had an episode that I was supposed to record last week on Thursday after the election, and I ended up canceling it because I just was not in the right state of mind to have a conversation with even anyone in my life. I was just like isolating and feeling a lot of feelings. So I rescheduled, and that's on taking care of yourself. We have a lot to discuss today. I was just telling Remy that I'm going to have a massive vulnerability hangover after recording this, but that's okay because I have slept on it a lot, and I know that all of the things that I'm going to share are things that I do want to share and not things I feel like I have to share. Maybe they're not unpopular opinions, but they're definitely not the opinions that I am seeing super regularly on social media, and it doesn't necessarily align with the message that I'm seeing on social media, but I'm going to share it anyway. But before we get started with the heavy stuff, I'm going to start with a little bit lighter content. I wanted to give an Andy update on the marathon because that was like our life for the last 6 months with him training and preparing for the New York City Marathon, which I'll just start by saying, oh my God, the electric energy of the New York City Marathon is unmatched. Like, please challenge me and tell me if there's any other place that I can go on a specific day for an event like that and feel the same amount of energy in the air than the New York City Marathon. The same amount or more. Like, please challenge me and tell me where I can go to feel that, because I've never felt anything like it. And it's different when you know people running. Like, I knew so many people running, and I was tracking all of them and just the excitement. But spectating is also a sport. Okay, I'm just going to say it, not to make it about me, but spectating is a sport. The amount of planning that you have to put in to watching someone run a goddamn marathon, and it underscores and highlights everything that I'm bad at. Logistics, maps, geography, timing, like all of it was just, these are not my strengths, and I had to lean on other people to guide me. Thank God I had them. Thank you, Casali, for guiding us. Andy ran the marathon. He had been training with his friend Nick and Jeff, so they were all running. We started watching at mile 13 in Williamsburg, or like mile 12 or 11, I think it is, but like somewhere around the halfway mark. I had been tracking him, and I saw him for the first time in Williamsburg, and he was cooking. Like, he was crushing it, running so fast. He looked so good. And Andy had been dealing with some calf issues like a month leading up to the marathon. His calf was really bothering him, and he ended up getting this peptide from a nurse that I work with for IVs. She ordered them for him, and I forget what the peptide is called. It has some crazy name, to the point where I was like, I can't ask her for these peptides. Like, there's no fucking way that she knows what this is, because this name doesn't even make sense. It was like A400C13 or like something ridiculous like that. But she did end up getting it for him, and he was injecting himself with peptides in his calf, like where it was bothering him, and it was helping him get through his training, and his calf was feeling better. It was still like a concern. So during around the halfway mark, mile 13-ish, he was cooking. We get on the subway to go see him at mile 24. I get off the subway. My friend Casali opens his phone to track everyone. And our friend Nick, who he was running with, is like still cooking, same pace, absolutely crushing it. But Andy's fallen behind a little bit. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, he's like significantly kind of slowing down. So we're walking to mile 24, and I look at my phone and I see Andy's calling me. Why the fuck is he calling me? He's running a marathon. Why is he calling me? My heart literally sank to my asshole. And I answer the phone. I can barely hear him. And he's like, hey, my calf is really bothering me. Like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, are you okay? Like, do you need to stop? And he's like, I don't know. The fact that he even said, I don't know, I was like, red flags were going up in my brain everywhere. It was just red flag, red flag, red flag. Because for Andy to even say, I don't know, to the question, do you need to stop? He must have been in a lot of pain. So I was like, I'm at mile 24. Like, I will see you at mile 24. Stop if you need to stop. Like, do not hurt yourself. do what you can do, finish if you can finish, because at this point he had, 5 miles left? So I was like, finish if you can finish. If not, it's all good. You can literally run another marathon. You never have to run a marathon again. Like, no one is making you do this for the 50th time. No one's making you do this. I see him at mile 24. We're with all of our friends. We're screaming his name. We're like, Andy, Andy. He's like kind of shuffling. Like, you can see like he's fighting for his life trying to finish this marathon. And he didn't hear us, even though we were screaming our heads off, to the point where when he finished, he texted me, and the first thing that he texted me was, I'm done. Why weren't you at mile 24? And I was like, bitch, I was. Bitch, I was there. What do you mean? And I had receipts to prove it. I had a video of him. He ended up finishing at 3:22, which is still incredible, but obviously his goal was under 3 hours. I'm just so proud of him for finishing. I'm so proud of his commitment to the training. I'm so proud that he pushed through and was able to finish. That could never be me. If I thought I was hurt, I would be so out. I would be the most out. But against all odds, he finished, and 3:22 is still an amazing time. He was such a good sport, and it's such a beautiful thing to watch someone be so happy and like live off the joy of someone else, because his best friend, Nick, who he had been training with, met their goal and finished in 2:58, which is incredible. Shout out, Nick. We were just so happy for him. And like, I just think there's something to be said for when you're in that situation and you're able to share that same level of happiness for your friend hitting the goal, even though you didn't hit the goal and you had something super disappointing happen. He was like just over the moon for his best friend, and the joy for his best friend like carried him through the feelings that he had for himself of disappointment. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So we had a lot of conversations also about not attaching your worth and your value to an outcome that was like unfavorable or not the best outcome that you wanted for yourself. Because again, this has been like his world for the last 6 months, training for this marathon, and he had this goal, and like, you know, it didn't go the way that he planned, but he, you know, still was able to finish. And I just keep encouraging him to look at that, because that's incredible. And 3:22 is still amazing. But obviously, this man has already signed up for another marathon in the spring. So just pray for me. I will also say, I did apply for the Chicago Marathon. It is in God's hands now. I do not know what will happen from here. It is not in my control anymore, but I just think you are lying if you go and spectate a marathon and it doesn't cross your mind at any point like, oh my God, I could run a marathon. All these people are running. Should I run one? I feel like I could run one. Like if you're saying that doesn't cross your mind, like you're lying. It had to have crossed your mind once. So that was me, and I did apply. And again, the universe will figure this out for me if I'm supposed to run a marathon or not. And I haven't really thought about it since. Like I applied, God's hands. I can run a marathon. I think anyone can run a marathon if they set their mind to it. I mean, after watching so many disabled people run a marathon, there were blind people running a marathon with guides, like that. Just the amount of inspiration that comes from spectating a marathon is unmatched. Will I run a marathon? I don't know. Can I run a marathon? I know I can. So stay tuned. But other than that, just a lot has happened this week. I mean, the election, which we will go into, but also like I would be remiss if I did not touch on the Brianna Chicken Fry, Zach Bryan of it all. I mean, this has consumed me. This has consumed me. My thoughts are the same as everyone else's, which are, I cannot believe that this was all going on behind the scenes. I mean, I used to watch videos of her and Zach Bryan and be like, this is the real life A Star Is Born. Like I remember seeing that first video of them from his concert when they met, when she was like singing on stage with Josh Richards, and being like, holy shit, this is literally Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born. And now they're in love and dating. Like, this is so beautiful. And then seeing all of these people hate on her, I was like, well, obviously, like, they're just jealous. This, you know, rock star, like, plucked her out of a crowd, basically, and has fallen in love with her. And now she's traveling the world with him and living her best life. I don't know what, like, the WAG version is of the girlfriend of a rock star, but she's living that life. We need to come up with a name for that. And then it just goes to show that you have no idea what is going on behind closed doors. And I know that she's gotten so much hate over the last year for various things. Like, the only example that comes to mind is like the Martinez brothers situation, or Martinez brothers. I'm crying, Kelly. The Martinez brothers are a DJ duo. Oh my God. The Menendez brothers, I'm not okay. Clearly my brain is thinking about house music more than anything else. The Menendez brothers, not the Martinez brothers, although they are fire. You should check them out. She's getting a lot of heat for that. I hope we can all just give this girl grace. Let's remember she's 25 years old. She's growing up and living her life in front of millions of people. That is not fucking normal. And I just have grace for people who do that because we've all made mistakes when we're young. I made so many mistakes, and God fucking knows if those mistakes were public, I would be you have no idea. Yeah. So I have grace for her, and I think we all should have grace for her. And it's just crazy to see how easily people lose themselves when they're in that kind of situation. And it's dangerous. And I know that the way that all this breakup went down was she was blindsided. She just wanted to go through her breakup privately. And then he kind of put her on blast. And that was a blessing, because who knows, maybe she would have been bamboozled again and gone back to him, and him being I need you, yada, yada. So I just think I have all the respect for her for turning down $12 million. I see so many people saying that they would have taken the money. I don't think you actually would have if you were in that position. I obviously listened to the BFFs podcast, and I heard, what she was comfortable sharing. But yeah, that $12 million number, that came from somewhere. There's shit in the vault that is worth $12 million clearly to Zach Bryan, maybe even more, to not get out. And if she took the money, that would have eaten her alive, knowing that she could not in any way allude to the experiences that she had gone through, especially in her line of work. She would literally be waking up every day, living inauthentically. And she is not that kind of girl from what I gather. Proud of Brie. I'm interested to hear from Grace, but we need to give Grace grace. And she owes none of us shit. And really none of them owe us shit. And I think that's something that we all have to keep in mind when it comes to these public figures and influencers that we follow. They don't owe us shit. They are human beings just like us. And I think that sometimes we really lose sight of that, because they, to us, sometimes just come off as characters in our phones, but they are human beings just like you or me or anyone on the street. You know what I'm saying? That's that on that. Now, I'm sweating. I'm sweating even just starting this conversation or talking about this subject, because I did kind of soft launch it on TikTok, because the past week, honestly, I have been really struggling with a lot of things. Clearly, the results of the election, first of all, I can't even describe the level of shock that I had that we knew so fast. I thought there was no shot in hell we were going to know the results anywhere before Thursday night. I was like, okay, Thursday night is the earliest that we'll probably know. Just because last time, I know we were all in COVID and most people were voting through mail-in ballots, but we didn't find out until Saturday, right? It was Saturday, I think. I, like many others, which this is crazy, that so many people, specifically women, had this experience. I went to bed on Tuesday night. I took my emergency Xanax. I didn't smoke my emergency cigarette, but I did take my emergency Xanax. I went to sleep, and I woke up at around 3:30 in the morning, and I went to go pee, and I was like, don't check my phone. Don't check my phone. The results will still be there in the morning. Get your full night's sleep. Do not fucking pick up your phone, Kelly. That was my inner monologue. And what did I do? I obviously picked up my phone. And I was in so much shock that he had won, and that we knew he had won. And I even remember where I was in the acceptance speech or whatever the fuck it's called. He was talking, and then Dana White came in. I'm like, what is Dana White doing here? What is going on? And I was like, maybe this is just a sleep paralysis demon. Maybe I should just go back to bed. But what's crazy is, I don't know if anyone else had this experience or seen this on TikTok. Me and my best friend had this experience, and the next day we were talking. She was like, I also woke up at 3:30. Apparently, there's a whole group of us, I want to say 1 million of us, or maybe even more, who woke up around the hours of between 3 and 3:30, didn't want to check our phones, checked our phones, and saw the results of the election in that specific time frame, which I just think is crazy. I don't know, like, did we all have this like instinct? Why did we all wake up at the same time? It's just all very strange. I thought it was just me and my best friend, and that was coincidence enough for me. But apparently it's been a thing. Like, a lot of people had that experience, which is crazy. But yeah, the last week has brought up a lot of emotions for me. I went through all like the stages, right? Like grief. No, actually, anger first. Well, no. Grief first, maybe, because I got back into bed and started crying myself to sleep. Then I woke up and I was just angry, like lashing out at everyone around me. If you were in my path, I was mad at you. I didn't even I didn't have to know like anything about you or who you voted for. I was just mad. The anger really sat with me for like a while. Like, I was really angry. I want to start by sharing. I actually don't know who I am politically, because the first election that I was able to vote in was 2016. And Donald Trump was a candidate. And now 2024, all three elections I was able to vote in, Donald Trump was a candidate. Candidly, I did not vote in 2016. Why, you ask? I was in Boulder. My boyfriend had just died, and I was deeply addicted to Xanax and cocaine. So I just wasn't in a position to even know what planet I was on, let alone how to register to vote in a different state. My priorities were not there. I was not well. Okay. But so any election I've been able to vote in, Donald Trump has been a candidate. So as a result, I haven't had the instinct to research a ton about policy or consider both candidates in any way, because it was always for me anyone but Trump, right? I think a lot of us probably have felt that way, especially with the rise of social media. It was always just anyone but Trump for me. So I've never really had to identify where I align with politically, because it was just anyone but Trump. But I guess by the standards of the system, I definitely am a left-leaning person. And I've never voted for Trump. I voted for Biden in 2020. I voted for Kamala in 2024. And to be totally honest, maybe it was a defense mechanism, my brain trying to protect itself, but I just did not think that I just didn't think it was possible that he was going to win. People I knew that had voted for him in 2016 ended up voting for Biden in 2020. So I was just especially after January 6th, I was how is he going to win? Only more has come out about him. He's only said more ridiculous, absurd shit. How would this man win when we have a very logical, sound of mind, qualified candidate running against him who has been in all three branches of government, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I didn't think he was going to win. And honestly, the fact that Kamala, I can't get over also people on the internet calling her, what are they calling her? Kamala. They are purposefully mispronouncing her name, it seems. I just thought that she had it in the bag. I really, really did. And what I'm about to say, I have to add context to. I posted this video on TikTok. It was 10 minutes long, but I was I don't really want to talk about this anymore until it's on the podcast, because we've just lost nuance. We've lost context. We've lost, I don't know, any ability to really fully hear someone out. And so this just felt like the right kind of environment and long form environment to talk about this. But here we go. I never thought that I would share this publicly. I actually thought that I would never share this publicly. And I was talking about this with someone recently. I was yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to share that. I do not need to open up myself to that kind of criticism or that kind of judgment. But it feels important context to share for what I'm going to say later on. And it also, I feel a little bit called to share it because I feel there's such a stigma around it. And there's a lot of ideas of what this situation looks like. And I don't think that I probably fit that kind of picture. So I'm just gonna say it. I'm 29 years old and I have had 2 abortions in my life. I will not cry because I promised myself when I started this job that I would literally not cry on the internet unless it was from happy tears. I have had 2 abortions and I have a lot of shame around that sentence. I have a lot of guilt saying that choice wasn't easy to make the first or the second time. I see a lot of like aggressively like right-winged people. Like I'm talking like, and again, I will get to this because I think there is a difference between, again, unpopular, a difference between people who voted for Trump and MAGA Trump supporters. I do think there is a difference. And again, I'm going to do my best to not qualify everything I say, but like everything that comes out of my mouth, like you are allowed to disagree with. You are allowed to literally shut off this podcast, block me on all socials, and never see my face again. Like I feel like we've lost like media autonomy in that way. Like I've had Bryce Hall blocked on every platform for like 6 months. And honestly, my life is better. So if not seeing me or hearing me ever again would make you feel better, like you have those tools in your toolbox, okay? So I'm just know if you're out there, like I'm letting you go with love, okay? We don't have to do this. Protect yourself, protect your peace. And when it comes to social media, like you choose what kind of influencers or podcasters, whatever it is you want to consume. Like that is in your court. So know that you can not see anyone you don't want to see. So I carry a lot of shame around this decision to share. And because I like have been sleeping on it for the last couple of days. I'm like, if I share, like there are people who don't know and they're like going to judge me. And there are people I know in my real life and they're going to judge me. Whatever. I don't give a fuck anymore. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, oh my God, why did I choose to share my whole life online? Because I am the type of person, I cannot pretend like everything is fine and just like get online and be like, hey, here's my outfit. Like I just can't. I can't, which is why I've pretty much stayed off social media for the last week. I can't pretend. I can't pretend. And if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. But if I have nothing to say, I'm also going to say nothing, which is again why I stayed quiet for the last week. So I'm sharing this for a reason. And I see a lot of right-wing, aggressively like Trump MAGA people being like, how many abortions do you guys plan on getting? Like, Jesus Christ. How many fucking abortions do you guys plan on getting? Like, it's almost like you're excited to get an abortion or whatever, or you're planning to get an abortion. For the love of God, no one wakes up and is like, fuck yeah, let's get an abortion today. Let's do this. Let's rock. I'm ready. Like, there is no one who has that reaction to needing to make the choice of what to do with their body. Oh my God. And the your body, my choice shit that's going around the internet from these crazy, crazy people, I can't. Like to that I say, my knee, you're nuts, okay? If I ever see you, it's on site. It's on fucking site. Like that is your body, my choice. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like I'm shaking. Okay. So no one wakes up excited to get an abortion. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I can speak to the fact that it has never been an easy decision. I'm not comfortable sharing all of the details around those two situations that I was in and those choices that I made in those two situations. But I can tell you with the utmost confidence and certainty that it has never been an easy choice and it has never been a good experience, okay? I will speak to this because if you're ever in this situation, and don't even get me started, the amount of time I have spent ruminating on the women who are in states where they are no longer able to choose, it has broken me this last week. And that is really like where my unwell state of mind has come from, because I wish that I could just give a shit about myself, but I don't. My life would be much easier if I did. But I've spent a ton of time putting myself in those women's shoes, thinking about all the different situations and circumstances at play for these potential people and the people who have already had to experience it and not had the ability to choose. But like I said, I can say with certainty, it's not easy. It's something I realized this week that I carry a lot more trauma around than I thought. Like, I think about it from time to time, but it's not something I think about all the time. But this week, it has been on my mind constantly. And I realized that I need to go back to therapy. So if you have any therapist recommendations, let me know. I've been reaching out to people, trying to get my ass in therapy again. But the first time I had to make that decision, I was very young. I'm very fortunate in the sense that, one, I was able to, I could afford to, and I was I'm sat in a position of privilege that I will be in forever. Like, I don't know if there is higher up I can get in a position of privilege unless I was like a man. I can't even imagine being more privileged because I'm so fucking privileged, in case that wasn't clear. I was fortunate enough that in both of those situations, I made those decisions with someone that I was very much in love with. And someone that supported me and was totally willing to do whatever I thought was best with my body and my life, because as we know, having a child is a very serious commitment and it changes the course of your life, especially if it's not how you saw it happening, which unfortunately now that's the case for a lot of people. It was hard though, also being in those positions with people that I loved so much, because it's like I pictured myself having kids with those people. I was very much in love with them. It was so hard to think that this was a little version of us that we created. Like, is it wrong? There were parts of me that were like, this makes me a bad person. The fact that it happened twice in my life also made me feel a lot of shame around responsibility. Like, am I irresponsible? Like, how did this happen to me twice? Which I will just be very clear. Like, I was not being like wildly irresponsible both times. I mean, maybe the first time I was very young. I was a teenager, I can say. That's all there's just other people involved. And so I just don't, I want to be like respectful also of their experience and like the people they love and who they may or may not have shared it with. But I was just like, how the fuck did this happen twice? I'm so careless. I'm ashamed. Like I should have this, especially the second time I was like, I should have this child because like clearly I'm reckless and I need to like face the consequences of my actions, which is crazy. And the first time I went into a Planned Parenthood and I did the in-person procedure, I was a little medicated for that experience. Self-medicated. They didn't give me like medication except for like prescription grade ibuprofen. I self-medicated. But I do remember there were protesters outside and that was really challenging. Like people yelling at you with signs, telling you not to kill your baby. Like that was very traumatic. I'm honestly really grateful that I don't really remember the in-person experience. And I'm sure that was also like partially a trauma response in addition to the drugs that I had taken, because it was very traumatic. But it was like quick and somewhat, painless from what I remember, like cramps after. It was more the emotional burden of it that carried with me throughout the years. And the second time I was able to get access to over-the-counter abortion pills from a website called HeyJane, which I'm not sure all of the laws and the rules, but I believe they are still up and running. I should check on that, honestly. It's accessible in a lot of states, but I don't know if it's accessible in the states where Roe v. Wade was overturned. I'll try to provide some resources in the show notes, but taking the abortion pill, in addition to, and I don't want to scare anyone because this is just my experience. I'm sure other people have had other experiences with it. And for a lot of women, this is the only way that they can access an abortion. So I don't want to scare anyone, but I will just say that it was without a doubt the most painful experience of my life. I will try to not be too graphic, but if you think about it as a concept, you take this pill and then your body is basically going to war with itself. You're biologically designed to like create this human and grow it in your body, and your body will do like anything it can to keep it safe. And then you take this pill that counteracts that, and you can just imagine what that does to your insides. So in addition to it being emotionally excruciating, it was also physically excruciating. But I don't want to scare anyone because you have to do what you have to do. And again, it's like the only way a lot of people can do it. And for me, I just I didn't want to go into a doctor's office at this point. Like I just didn't, because I was scared of the protesters from the first time. And like, I ended up making that decision, and it played out exactly as it needed to, but it was very painful. It was very traumatic for me. But do I regret those decisions? No, I don't. And I do believe that they were the right thing for me, but it's not easy. And anyone who thinks it's just easy for a woman to wake up and make a decision on what to do with her life and her body is fucking nuts. And you need to sit them down with me, okay? Sit them down with me, because I will put them in their goddamn place. If you're ever going through something like that and you need someone to talk to, My DMs are open. Sometimes Instagram puts it in like a hidden folder. Maybe like if I'm not seeing your message, comment like a banana or something on one of my really old fucking Instagram posts, and I'll delete your comment right after and check the messages that you've sent me by clicking on your profile. Okay, so banana is our code word, and I will literally delete your comment 15 seconds after. Like if I see a banana emoji, that comment's gone and I'm in your DMs. That's our little safe space. So with all of that context in mind, obviously when Roe v. Wade was overturned, it's kind of like 9/11. I remember exactly where I was. I was walking on the treadmill in my old building, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is so ass backwards. I do see a lot of rhetoric around like, it's just being brought back to the States. Okay, objectively, if we look at women's rights, that is a step backwards in our rights. Okay, so I want to validate and just underscore the validity in anyone's emotions who feel like they're scared of what could possibly happen, given that that's already happened. At the same time, I'm going to try and instill some hope. And it's hard to remain spiritual and in faith. And I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual. I pray every night. I don't know who to, but someone's listening to me because a lot of the things I've prayed for have happened. A lot of things I've prayed for to be freed of have gone away. Like, I pray is what I'm trying to say. But I'm not like a religious person. I don't like identify with any specific religion. It's hard to remain in faith when there's very uncertain times, especially politically, okay? Because especially if you're on social media, there's a lot of fear mongering. Again, so much of it is valid and I understand it, but at the same time, it is hard to remain spiritual and like have trust that everything is like going to be fine and that we're going to be fine when everyone is throwing the worst case scenario at you, giving you a lot of things to be scared about. We're catastrophizing. Again, if I need to fucking say it again, for good reason, I get it. He's a scary guy. I'm scared of him too. And I'm scared of his squad a little bit more than I am of him, to be totally honest. Because I think he just talks a lot and I just think he likes to hear himself talk. I don't even know if he knows what he's saying sometimes. I'm just trying to say that it is okay if you want to try your best to not subscribe to all of it right now, because at the end of the day, we did what we could do. What's done is done. I hate that. That doesn't mean the work stops, which I'm going to speak about in a bit, but it is okay if you have to like protect yourself a little bit right now and tell yourself that it's maybe not going to be as bad as we think as a survival skill, okay? I'm talking about this as like a full-blown fight or flight survival skill, because I have had to retrain myself this week to stay off social media, to like manipulate the algorithm. I'm looking up like dogs, whale watching videos, like crazy weird shit to manipulate my algorithm. So I'm here to tell you that it is okay if that is what you need to do for right now to stay sane so that you can show up as a good version of yourself. Maybe not even the best version of yourself. Maybe that's like a pipe dream right now for a lot of us, but a good version of yourself that can carry out their day and do what they need to do and be happy and not lose sleep and be stressed the fuck out and deeply unwell. I'm telling you that it's okay. Because I know people online are going to be like, no, you need to be reading and listening to everything. It is okay if you need to take a beat for a sec. Okay, queen? It's okay. It's okay. You're not a bad person. It's all right. It is crazy that I'm about to say this, but I have been more nervous to share what I'm about to share than I have been to share that I had 2 abortions, okay? I am not cutting out everyone in my life who voted for Trump. Let me add context, because I know that's going to rattle a lot of you. I know you're going to freak out. Hear me out. I am lucky in the sense that I don't have anyone in my like close proximity of life who is a hardcore right-wing Trump supporter, MAGA, flag on their house, sign in the ground on their house. Like I don't have anyone in my inner circle like that, just to be clear, okay? So the people I'm talking about are people who voted for Trump. All of the people I've talked to who voted for Trump are people who the first thing out of their mouth acknowledging that when they voted for him is like, I hate the guy. I do not think he's a good person. I think he's crazy with the things that he says, but I've had a lot of conversations with people understanding their why. And my only regret is actually that I didn't have those conversations sooner, because I think I was trying to like protect my peace a little too much. So I regret not having hard conversations like in the heat of election season versus like after the fact. I mean, I've had some during the heat of election season, but I wish that I had a few more of those like really hard-hitting conversations with people, because again, where I sit, and I just said, like, those people aren't hardcore Trump supporters. A lot of them are people who voted for Trump or voted for Biden in 2020 and swayed differently and voted differently in this election. So therefore, these are people who I potentially have the ability to have conversations with them moving forward that might be able to inform them or challenge them in ways that they might not be informed or challenged by people who have like a different perspective. And shockingly, actually, from the people that I've talked to, at least this last week, none of them really cited the economy as their reason. I will say there are a lot of people who I have seen their true colors because they are hardcore right-wing MAGA, like conservative loyalists. I don't think we have anything to really like talk about, or that there's a lot that we could kind of align on in that way. So I have seen people's, true colors come forward about, just their sheer like and utter excitement and loyalty to him. I kind of know what I need to know. I don't hate them. I'm not going to sit here and name call. I think that when people do that, it comes from a place of ego and moral superiority. And that's not serving my soul. Okay. Because I've done it before. I did it a lot in 2020 and it did not make me a better human. If you feel like it makes you a better human, all the power to you. Just don't let it take away from your ability to self-reflect and look at things holistically. That's all I'll say. Again, I'm not like the political source of truth here, but millions and millions, I'll just say, because I don't know the exact number, but I feel like it was like 75 million Americans voted for Trump. So I'm making an active choice to sit here and not believe that 75 million Americans are homophobic, racist, misogynist who don't believe women should have rights. I'm not going to group them in with all of the hardcore right-wing MAGA supporters. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that that gets us anywhere. I think that it makes it way easier to divide us. And like I said, I have an opportunity to have hard conversations with people moving forward and potentially give them a little bit more insight into a different point of view that they may not have for the next election. And I don't think, again, not a political expert, but I just don't think objectively that this way of life is going to get us anywhere in terms of winning elections, which if we want to protect people and protect their rights, you got to win elections. And I'm happy to see more and more people on social media who are very liberal are criticizing the way that people are behaving and the language that is being used, because it is not going to get us very far. I'm not telling you what to do. This is just food for thought, and I'm just here to look someone in the eye, virtually, of course, and say that if you know someone who you love and who you know is a good person and you know aligns with you morally, but they checked off his name on the ballot and you don't want to cancel them out of your life, that it's okay. It's been a very unpopular opinion, but I'm here to say that it's okay. And I'm not telling you again, oh my God, I have to stop qualifying that you have to keep people in your life who voted for Trump. You don't have to do diddly fucking squat. You don't have to do diddly fucking squat that I tell you. It's your life. In the last week, I have had to do a lot of untangling of my brain from what do I actually think versus what are the beliefs that were pushed on me by people on social media who are yelling at me in their phone about things that I agree with. Like they're like women's rights, protect gay marriage, protect all these things. And I'm like, yes, queen, I agree with you. Yes, keep going. But then at the end, they're like, and people who vote for Trump are racist, homophobic freaks, and they do not deserve a second of your time. And if you know someone who voted for Trump, fuck them. They are not your friend. They hate you. They hate women and they hate gay people. And they sure as fuck don't care about you. And I'm like sitting there, oh my God, Queen, you just destroyed me. Oh my God. I agreed with everything you said, but that last bit, oh no. I've had to do so much untangling. It's mental. I'm unwell. I'm doing better today. I'm more well today, but it's like a necklace that is like in the biggest knot of all time, but it's like your favorite necklace and you have to sit there and fucking untangle it, okay? And I'll just say this too, like voting for Kamala Harris doesn't by default make you a good person. I know people who voted for Kamala Harris who treat people like dog shit, okay? Doesn't just by default make you a good person. I have 100 reasons to, or just categories to base your character and your morals and your values and who you are as a person and what you believe in aside from who you voted for in 2024. Like I do. And it doesn't make you a good person by default for voting for Kamala Harris. So I did vote for her. I do think I'm a good person, but I am just encouraging and imploring everyone to look inward when you're feeling confused and take a step back from social media for a second and and journal. I literally resist journaling so much, but this week I have done it, and the things that are coming, I don't even know that my hand is writing them because it's coming out so fast. And I'm really grateful to have had the week that I've had, even though I was in a dark, dark place and questioning everything. I'm grateful for that experience because I think I've come out the other side with a little bit more insight into what I actually think and what I actually feel. And I will not change my views on this election in any way possible. It's just not possible. Like, I will not change my views on what I believed was right for this election. But I am not going to blanket by default call everyone who had a different decision than me that day a racist, homophobic, misogynistic bigot. I'm not going to do that. And that is a choice that aligns with my beliefs and a choice that aligns with who I am and a choice that I honestly believe will get me way farther in having an impact on people's point of view moving forward. That is all for today. My mouth is very dry. I am here for anyone who needs to talk, but needs a safe space because they think that they will get canceled for having these thoughts. And if you want to cancel me, that's fine. I used to snort pre-workout freshman year of college and do key bumps by myself in the library. So if you need another thing to add sprinkle to your cancellation storyline, there you go. I know this was a heavy episode. It was very hard for me to do. I'm dripping sweat. I need to go home and change my clothes. And regardless, I'm glad that I did it. I feel like I got a lot off my chest and said things that need to be said. And now I feel like I can also show up and do my job, which involves talking into my phone to strangers in a more authentic way because I've just been kind of holding this in and bottling it up. I love you all. I hope that you make today a very nice day. That is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to take Sunny for a walk. I'm going to make my own meals today. That is something that's been really helping me too, just controlling what I can control. And that is the note that I will leave on is today, just control what you can control, which is a lot of times just your reaction to things and how you choose to respond. So I love you. I hope that you understood where I was coming from, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hear me out. And I love you. Let's have a very nice day, and I'll see you next week. Love ya. Okay, also, I forgot this, and I was like, Remy, I need the mic back. In the show notes, I'm going to add links to resources, but also some places that you can donate. I forget the name of the organization, but I was researching one last week that helps provide travel and aid to people who are in states where they can't access an abortion and therefore need to travel. I forget the name off the top of my head, but I'm going to put it in the show notes. So if you feel compelled to donate, just feel free to click the link in the show notes. And yeah. Okay. Love you. Bye.